The new card game is really fun and actually pretty well made. There's so many things you can do that makes the game really complex because you have no idea which card is better. Honestly, in my opinion, almost all these cards have a place in some certain deck, but yes, there are some cards which are more valuable than others and I'll be going over them. They're not in any order of any kind, it's just the cards I think you should have. So let's begin now. Let's talk about the two Paimon cards first. They're both really good. As soon as I read their descriptions, I knew they were OP. So the first card gives you 4 Omni dice for 3 dice of the same element, and these 4 Omni dice are given out at the start of the 2 rounds. So you get 10 dice for the next 2 rounds after you use this card, which is OP. And the second Paimon card gives you 2 Omni dice for any 2 elemental dice, which is again really good. I would recommend having 2 of each in your deck. I mean, maybe if you're making a personalized deck, then maybe you don't need that many. But for beginners who just want to complete the adventure thing, it's really good. Next is a Liyue Harbor Warf card, which is really good. It's basically 1 card for 4 extra cards. That's like a really good deal. And if you played a few matches of this game already, you know how important these cards are. You can use them because of, what they do, or maybe you can change your dice so you can attack. It's really important to have many cards available at all times. And the only thing you need to, activate this card is 2 elemental dice of the same element. Like, I cannot stress how good this card is, and you must have this card in your deck somewhere. It's really good. Also, another card like the Liyue Harbor Wharf card is the Strategize Card, which is basically exactly the same, but instead of, you getting 2 extra cards every round, you can use this in that same round and get 2 free cards. You use 1 energy instead of 2. It's basically just like Liyue Harbor Wharf card, but by 2, and can be really good to have because having more cards is always going to be a better thing. Next up are the switch cards like Catherine, then you have the When the Crane Returns. This is a bit niche, but I'll talk about it. Then you have Leave It To Me. This one is my favorite card because it's basically like the Catherine card, but without the 2 energy requirement. It's literally 0 energy required. And this one too, which is like you spend 1 less elemental die when you're switching. This one, I try to save it, and whenever I'm, planning a big attack on the enemy cards, I use it because I'm saving 1 elemental die if I really need it. There are many other cards that do this, so switching uses 1 less elemental die. Like I think this one, yep, this one does the same thing. Then there's a few more cards that do this, but you get the idea. It's basically like really strong to have this. So, if you want to kill the enemy card in 1 go, which is really something you should try to go for. Because if, for example, you apply an element and you have to switch, the enemy knows you're switching, so you can, probably melt or vaporize. So they will switch your card too because it's weak, right? So to make sure that that doesn't happen, you need to have cards like this. And you can switch in that same action phase and attack, right? It's really good and important to have a few cards. Maybe not all of these cards, but having a few of them can be really good. Now this card here, now not all decks might want to use this card, but most decks would want to use their skill, so they apply their element and then switch to the next character card so they can now use their skill. So this can be really good. The next cards are the energy cards. So you have this card, Star Signs, then you have Calyx's Art, then you also have this one, Iron Tongue Kian, then you have this one, I Haven't Lost Yet. All these cards give your characters energy, right? I honestly really love using this card, especially. This is also another card that I really love. So I like using this one, When the Crane Returns, and I have the first character use their skill, then have this one already applied. So now the other character gets to use their skill. After that happens, I switch to the main character whose burst I want to use. Then I use this card. So this card will basically take the energy from the other 2 cards and give it to your main card, right? So now my main card has 2 energy. And if I have this in my deck, I use this and character already has their burst ready, which is amazing. So having a burst probably ready second round is really strong, right? So energy is a really important part of the game. Now all these cards provide something differently. It's like this one takes away energy from your other 2 cards. This one here gives your character 1 energy for 2 elemental die in the same action phase. This one here, you get 2 energy for 2 elemental dice. Now this one is for 2 different rounds, unlike the other one. Then this one is you get 1 energy for whenever you switch. But it's only for 1 elemental die, but you get 2 energy in total, which is a really good deal, but only if you switch. So I guess it could work if your deck need something like this. Also, there's this card I haven't lost yet, which is 0 elemental die, but it's only when one of your characters is about to die, you get 1 free elemental die and 1 energy for your active character, which can be really strong, but you have to wait until one of your character is about to die, which might take some time. I guess if you get it in the first round, then it might not be that useful, but later on it can be really, really good. Basically, mix and match, see what your deck needs, and have at least a few cards that can give your character cards energy, because energy is really important in this game. Another card I think is really strong is this one here. When I was first starting out, I didn't think this would be that strong, but after giving it some thought, like, we're gonna see in co-op especially, we're gonna see summons that are gonna be really, really bad for us, and having the ability to just destroy it, like for example Sugras's ult, right? It's basically a summon, right? And that deals the most amount of damage. If you have this card ready, you can easily just get rid of it, and that's a big loss for the enemy. They spent a lot of their energy and elemental die for that ult, and using one card destroys it is pretty strong. And another card, this card here, is also pretty strong. You get 3 elemental die for 2 elemental die, so you're using 2 elemental die for 3. The next 2 cards are the Wongshu Inn and the Favonius Cathedral cards. They might seem a bit boring because all they do is heal, but the amount they heal is actually pretty good. Like 4 HP over 2 rounds is not bad, and they only consume 2 dice, which is not that bad. Most enemy decks are to chip away your damage, at least in Adventure from what I've seen, is to chip away your damage, and whenever they get an elemental burst, you know, use it and your character dies. But if you have these 2 cards already, then it won't be able to chip that much damage, right? +2, -2, it equals out. And having this card standby whenever you need it can be really helpful. So I would recommend having at least 1 or 2. It's not that important, but having this card somewhere in your deck when you need it can be really helpful. And if you have space left after you have used your artifacts and your weapons, stuff like that, if you have any space left, you can just put in cards like Timmy, or, you know, this here, sorry, this one. But it's basically 0 energy, so it's just free fodder cards, right? It's fine. It doesn't require anything. You can just put them in if you have space left for them. Also, these Pyro Resonance and Elemental Die Resonance and these equipment cards all fit in very well together. Like for example, if we have a double Pyro team, then this here is pretty amazing, right? The next instance of fire-related reactions triggers deals 3 extra damage, right? And then you have this, which is, you know, this one here. The next roll phase, you get 2 Pyro Elemental die, which is really good because you already have 2 characters that are Pyro, so you need more die, the Pyro die. Now this is, yeah, more expensive, but I think it's worth it. I think this is way worth it, and you should probably have this in your deck. Also, the weapons are, they're promising, but I think they're not that important, but some teams may really like them. All of these weapons do something different. Like here, you get HP. For this one, their normal attack deal extra damage. So all of these weapons do different things, and depending on your character cards, some may need the HP, some may need the attack. It depends on your character cards. So this is probably on a later stage. You don't need to worry about them right now, but when you're ready to make a personalized, then I recommend going over all of these and finding the perfect weapons for your deck. They're going to be really helpful. All of these weapons are not bad. I can really see them being used in some decks. So whenever you're ready to make a personalized deck, then look for which weapons could be useful for your character cards and then buy them. Now that's all the info I could gather, but I really want to make a guide on the best character cards. Like, these are just the equipment, support, and event cards, but I want to make a guide on the character cards, but I currently don't have all the character cards, which is going to take a long time. I don't think anybody has all of them, right? Because they have like a weekly thing. But whenever I do get all of them, I want to see which is the best one and probably make a few teams with them and tell you what I think. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this helped. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.